Then you should have brainstormed some different imagery. So here's my brainstorming list. Use the image checklist to help you come up with at least 12 different images, some of them larger, some of them smaller, some of them patterns, but you should have saved those. And you could have either printed those images out and cut them up to make a collage. You could have put them into Photoshop, which is what I did. If you followed along with that tutorial. So here's my Photoshop pulling up. To be able to create your collage on here. Or you could just trace off of your computer for each individual picture. Okay, so lots of options there for number 3. And so now that brings us to step number 4. And so this video is going to take you through step number 4 through the end of your project. Okay, so here is mine. My theme is connectivity. I feel like it's really important this year, and so I try to utilize how we connect, a bunch of different examples of how, some examples of why we're still trying to connect even when we all sometimes feel a little secluded, and then some different imagery to be able to show that. So I went to Google, I found a bunch of different images. I have a nice variety of very clear images. I know I'm going to add more details to these, but I used that tutorial that's linked to be able to go through and basically just get rid of the background and put these images in the layers in order so that I could arrange them into this little start of my collage. So this is kind of the main outline, and then I'm going to go in when I draw it and add a lot more details and add some other things. So for step 4, you need to trace whatever your main collage is. Okay, so if you printed these out and cut them up and made a collage where you glued it all together, then you can trace directly off of that. I was lucky enough to have a printer, so I just printed it out off of Photoshop. Black and white actually makes it easier for you later on, since this is mainly a black and white project, and so I just printed it in black and white, and this is what I'm going to use. So to trace it, you have a couple different options. One thing you can do is you can just sit by a window. So it's pretty sunny out, so that's what I'm going to do. If you don't have a window, then you can create kind of your own light box. So you can use your laptop, turn the brightness all the way up, turn it to a blank white screen, which you can do just in Google Slides, and you can use that screen underneath your image and then your final paper that you're planning on using to be able to trace. Or sometimes you can take like a lamp or a flashlight and just shine it on one side and just kind of see through, just basically to get the main outlines. But here's how I would do it, or how I would just tape my printout to the glass like so, and then I would tape this one right on top. And so I just took a plain piece of white paper. I have drawing paper, you can use whatever paper you have, and just trace those main outlines. Okay, now I've already done this for the sake of the video, and not only have I done that part, but I actually went ahead and started in with step number 5, which is starting to add some of my designs and things. Okay, so here is what I have, and I'm going to make it bigger. So here's my design. There we go. And you can see I have my laptop. I guess it's more like this. I have my laptop. I have the globe. But basically what I've done, you can see lightly where all the pencil marks are that I outlined it. But then I went through and I looked at my collage and I identified where any parts are going to be just solid black. Okay, because when I go to shade things, I like to work from dark to light. And I know that I'm going to need some areas that are solid black, some areas that are plain white, and then lots and lots of different in-betweens, okay? So I first identified the parts that I want to be solid black, and I went ahead and I filled those in. When I go to fill those in, I'm using a combination of tools. You should all have a Sharpie just from being in your supply kit, and it should be a new Sharpie, so it should be pretty clean and with a pretty good sharp tip. I also have a thinner Sharpie. I have a black pen. If you have things like this is going to be really handy, and so I would utilize these as well. If you don't have a black pen or a thin Sharpie, you can also just use the black colored pencil from your colored pencil case. Okay, that'll work too, so no sweat. But these are going to be my best friend while I'm working on this. So I went ahead and I filled in all the dark parts. And now part of step 5 is just practicing and then applying some different value techniques. So for those value techniques, we're talking about cross-hatching, we're talking about hatching, we're talking about stippling. These are all things that I showed you before whenever we were doing our still life. So you might want to go back to those notes, or I linked a video in the instructions slideshow that you can follow along with to become comfortable with those things again, or just refresh yourself with stippling, cross-hatching, hatching, okay? Once you know those different things, then it's a matter of just identifying what you want to use where. And I'm looking for all of them somewhere, okay? So what I would do is I would just look at my original drawing and I would say, okay, I already got all the really dark parts, so now I need to find where some medium to darker areas are. So I think this heart in particular is like medium to dark, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use one of those techniques on that. So I have to find where that heart is, and it's right here for me, and I know it's kind of hard to see. And I would do this in pencil first, but I don't know that you'll be able to see it on the video if I don't do it in pen, so I'm going to use pen for the sake of this. And I would go in for this heart. It's kind of cartoony already, so I can go ahead and give it like an outline. And then I would go in and I would start doing one of those techniques. So maybe I want to do cross-hatching for this one, and maybe I want to make my heart look kind of like it's three-dimensional, so I'm kind of curving. Once again, do this in pencil first, just in case you don't end up liking the way it looks. I just kind of have to go ahead because I don't think you could see it if I did it in pencil. And then for the cross hatching, I'm literally just going to cross over. I'm trying to give it a little bit of a curve. So that you can see the form. And I'm going around like this little thumb here. All right, so there is one thing. Now that was a pretty simple part of mine. There's definitely some more complex areas, like this coffee has like little bubbles and things in it. I already did the dark black part, but maybe I want to go in, and this would probably be a really good place for me to do some stippling. So I'm first going to go ahead, and there's this like dark ring around it that I'm going to do a little outline. And then I'm going to apply some stippling. I know that towards the middle, it's a little bit lighter, so I'm going to leave some space there. And out here, it's pretty dark, so I'm going to make my dots very close together as I'm getting to those outer parts. Notice I don't outline the entire thing. That's because I want to be able to show some value, but I don't need it to look cartoony everywhere. I don't want it to be completely outlined. And if you look at the examples, you'll notice that's pretty typical. So there's some stippling We've got some cross hatching. I also can do maybe some hatching. So for example, for the zoom part right here, I know that the middle needs to be white, but out there is like a medium tone, so I could do some hatching there. So I'm just going to carefully draw some lines. Once again, I would do this in pencil if it weren't that I was trying to do this for a video. Okay. And you know what? I think for this one I want to do cross hatching too, because it just doesn't look clean enough yet. Or maybe I at least want to outline this. This is why you do it in pencil, because then you can really make those decisions ahead of time. Actually, that looks pretty good. Maybe some more lines, because it's a little bit darker. Couple more up there. All right, there's my zoom part. Okay, so basically I would go through looking at my original collage, and I would just go through and start from dark until I get to the lighter areas. When I get to the background, you want to do some kind of pattern or something there to fill it in. And I would do this all in pencil, which is what step 5 and 6 are. It's all about just finding what you're going to shade where and doing it in pencil. And then step 7 is when I would jump to my pen, my Sharpie, whatever it is that you're using. When you get to your Sharpie and your pen area, make sure you're taking your time, you're making it nice and neat. Step 8 is just going back and erasing any additional pencil lines that might be hidden underneath the Sharpie. And so go back there and erase. At that point, if there's anything else you want to do, I know a couple people have mentioned like adding a little bit of watercolor or adding a little pop of color here or there to help make their statement. Maybe that's really important for something that you're trying to say. Please go ahead and do that as well. And then when you are completely done, okay, so this is totally done, then you are going to take a very, very clear photo of it, and you're going to upload it to your self-reflection when you turn it in on Schoology, which is what we've done for all the other ones. But if you have any questions about that, once again, I have the video of me showing you how to fill out the self-reflection, and that is included in your instructions, okay? So let me know if you guys need any help. I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. I'm excited to work on mine some more, and have a great day.